You came back. I'm surprised you came back, but I'm also glad you came back, because we're going to continue our little series on whether a sidecar is right for you. This time, we're going to talk about converting a sidecar.
There's something about motorcycles that just clicks with me. It's not just a ride, it's the feeling, the freedom, the connection to the road. And then there's a sidecar. A little different, a little unexpected, but that's the point. For me, it's never about just getting somewhere. It's about exploring the back roads of Canada, the hidden places, and eventually the world. Because every road has a story, and I want to see where they all lead. Let's twist that throttle. Gaze at the horizon. My name's Jamie, and you're in the Sidecar.
Okay, before we get started, I have to say I have been nursing an injury for the last 2.5 weeks, and I haven't been able to ride. I've got a pinched shoulder, which is better now, but for a while it was like quite sore. And as I mentioned in my last video, I'm not sure if you all had a chance to watch that one, but sidecars are very involved, so you need a lot of strength in your upper body, in order to pilot a sidecar. And I wasn't kidding when I said that. It could be quite tough, and a pinched shoulder just doesn't do it. I think on a motorcycle probably wouldn't either, but it's nice to get back on the bike after 2.5 weeks. I'm sure that some of you have more severe injuries here and there, and that it's affected your riding. Comment down below, because even just a small injury can upset your season, which is where I've been for the last couple of weeks. Nothing very serious, but at the same time enough to make me not ride, which is the worst. So now that I'm somewhat recovered, although I probably should be taking it easy, but hey man, I can't help it. I'll take a nice leisurely ride today. Get back on in the saddle, literally. Take it nice and easy. We're going to talk a little bit about my Triumph Speedmaster, because this video is all about converting an existing sidecar, which is exactly what I did with this motorcycle. And then we'll talk about, I'll show you a little bit of the bike and how it's attached. And then we're going to talk about living with it, because there are some things that, as a former Ural owner, I had to get accustomed to. No spoilers on this one, but you'll get to see a little bit what I'm talking about. It's a lovely day. It's a lovely day for a sidecar motorcycle play. Hey. I just made that up right there on the spot. You're welcome. So a little bit of history as we pull here into Rockland. This sidecar isn't the first sidecar that I've owned. Just to kind of set the table for this video and what possessed me to actually transform this into a sidecar rig. I did own a Ural gear up, a 2021 Ural gear up in olive drab. It was all kitted out with all the fun stuff on it. I had many an adventure, and many a misadventure. But I came to love sidecars. And at one point when downsizing, I didn't really want to give up the whole sidecar thing, even though I was moving on from the Ural. Now, if you're wondering if, you know, why a sidecar, why would you want a sidecar, or why did I want a sidecar, leading into that story a little bit, I did make a video about that. You'll be seeing it right over here. Now that video will talk about a sidecar rig and whether or not it is right for you. But also, I dive into a little bit of the history of why I wanted to get into sidecars. Might not be what you expect. It's a little bit more funny than you would expect, I think, but go watch that video, check it out. Maybe a sidecar is right for you. It's a good starting point for this series, because this one we're focusing more on converting an existing sidecar, or an existing motorcycle, I should say. So okay, so let's talk a little bit about my Triumph, the Speedmaster 2013. We've been together for a very long time, coming up on 15 years. I've been through so much with this bike. Actually, maybe this year, maybe early next year, I'm going to be hitting the 100,000 kilometer mark on the odometer. So we've done a lot of mileage together. Most of it is me. I bought it brand new, you know, the occasional person that's riding it, but I'm proud to say that all those near 100,000 kilometers I put on this bike myself. So we've got history. As we pass the turkeys. I love this bike so much. It was something that I always considered with the sidecar on this bike. So this poor bike has been changed so many times, customized over the years. I had mini ape hangers at one point. I had ammo saddlebags at one point too, which was fun, but not very practical. I had to change the paint job on it at one point because someone dropped their motorcycle and made a nice big mark on it. So I have this custom paint job, not the best, and I'll have to redo it at some point, but I think it's not horrible. All that to say, we've been through thick and thin together. It's a very reliable motorcycle, extremely reliable. I other than, you know, your usual sort of maintenance jobs, I haven't really had to do very much with it. So when it came time for a little change up, a major change up, I looked at it as, this is, you know, we've had this long-term relationship, me and the Triumph, and it's time for us to have a baby, and that baby was a sidecar. Is it a little bit of a romantic way of looking at it? Maybe, I don't know. But, you know, all relationships grow up at some point.
So let's talk a little bit about my actual sidecar itself. This is a Trans-Moto sidecar. They come out of Montreal in Quebec, Canada. It's a fiberglass unit. It's got a high windshield, which I specifically asked for. Keeps those bugs off. And it was shipped off to Old Vintage Cranks, or OVC, in Acton, Ontario. It was shipped off with a kit, basically a universal kit, or not quite universal, but a kit that would work for the Triumph Speedmaster. So this is a lighter sort of sidecar unit. If you're used to the Ural units, they're big metal ones, so there's a bit of that. And I know that across the world there's different sidecar manufacturers. I think of Watsonian, so they have different types of sidecars for different adventures and stuff like that. This one is fiberglass, so it's a little bit lighter, which I actually can appreciate quite a bit. So if you're looking at the sidecar here, you can see the different mounting points. We actually, Old Vintage Crank has marked off the torque spec where it should be resting, so that in the future, when we look at adjusting things, we know we have a baseline in that respect. So this whole frame is mounted underneath and attached at 2 points here at the sidecar, at the front and at the back. So they are all attached underneath as well, and that sort of kit came with the sidecar. So I think the biggest question I had coming from a Ural to converting my sidecar was, can the Speedmaster handle it? And it wasn't a matter of, the fact that the engine displacement or anything like that. It was more centered around the fact that I feel like the Triumph was already a great motorcycle. Am I going to be taxing the engine too much? Do I need to make some adjustments before the fact, before we install it, which I did actually, and I had changed the front forks and put on some new shocks in the back just to try to compensate a little bit. But a lot of it was concerns over whether or not the Triumph can handle it. Legacy Ural has a displacement of 750 cc's, if I'm not mistaken. This is a 950, so I knew that it could handle it in the sense that a bit more power, but at the same time, I'm very attached to this motorcycle and I don't want to tax it more than I have to. And that's something you're going to have to keep in mind if you are looking at converting a motorcycle into a sidecar rig, is it's going to tax your engine a little bit more than if it didn't have one. So something to think about. Will I have to rebuild the engine at some point? Maybe. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do want to keep riding this as long as I can. And taking care of it is obviously one of those ways to do it. I was glad to say that the Triumph can handle it quite well. Now, a lot of people will convert motorcycles like a classic 350 or a smaller displacement engine, which those motorcycles can actually handle that, but you also have to put it in context. And by that I mean, if you've got a smaller displacement, you're not going to be going as fast, and it's maybe for in town or something like that. It might not be highway speeds, obviously, and if you're just going to keep it in that context, then it probably would work a whole lot better. But in respects to the displacement of your vehicle, it will make a difference. So if it's a smaller one, then you'll have to keep it in check and not go too fast, and don't expect it to go too fast as well. So I think I'm not an expert on attaching a motorcycle to a sidecar. I'm going to ask an expert that I do know, someone that I trusted to actually do this for us, and it's Mike Wells at OVC, Old Vintage Cranks in Acton, Ontario. He's going to talk to you a little bit about putting it in context, like I was just saying. Is it right for you based on the motorcycle that you have? So take it away, Mike.
kind of need to know what your riding style is and what you plan on doing. If you're doing cross-country touring,
Yeah.
it's a different bike and a different sidecar than if you're just doing a around in town grocery getter.
Yeah.
So know your riding and your riding style,
Yeah.
and size the bike and the sidecar to that.
Yeah.
Don't just buy the biggest bike you can find because that's what you want. Find what you need, not what you want.
Yeah. Well, that's good advice, actually. Yeah. So some of the things that I had to get used to a little bit with this unit is that I had on the Ural is basically the reversing. So it's kind of funny because this has no reverse on it, obviously. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how you can tackle that. A lot of it is gravity, by the way. Spoilers. And I'm going here on purpose just to show you. So this isn't a Ural unit, so I don't have a reverse on this. So if you do have an existing motorcycle that you're going to have a sidecar attached to, this is one of the things that you're going to have to learn to deal with, and that is reversing Flintstone style. So basically, if I can find neutral on this for some reason, I got to back it up like this. And the reason why I chose this is because there's gravel and it's hard to do, and you're going to slip and slide a little bit. And I'm an impatient guy in general. We'd be able to have a little bit of a hill like that. But patience gets you there in the end. So this is part of the problem. If you've got a regular motorcycle, it's a lot lighter and a lot easier to push back. So you can see that it takes enough strength to be able to do this. And then now I've got the momentum going backwards. So, not all is cracked up to be in that respect, right? Another thing that I have to do, and I've got a handy dandy device for this, and I had to use it on my Ural when I had that too, is this brake. It's called a brake fix. Really cool. You can see it's 3D printed. Someone's had this issue, but if I let go of this brake, this whole unit's going backwards. There's no brake like there is on a Ural unit. So, and even on my Ural, it never worked. It always would give out. So what I have here is just, it hooks on to my brake, boom.
So living with the Triumph converted to a sidecar rig has been an interesting adventure, because if it's the same bike, it's the same bike I know and love, but it has a completely different character, which is kind of funny. You know, you have to relearn how to ride your own motorcycle that you know inside out. So that was a fun challenge, though. It wasn't anything serious. It was nice, you know. Again, like if I'm using the analogy of a marriage, you know, it changes things when you have a baby. It's the same thing with this. So it just happens that the baby is a big, heavy appendage to the motorcycle. You son of a gun. So it did take some getting used to. I was concerned with a few different things that my concerns were alleviated, once I started riding, but also beforehand by some experts out there. Woo! One being that the Ural had a brake on the sidecar. So that was something that I was like, do we need that? I didn't have any experience other than the Ural, so I assumed that when you had a motorcycle with a sidecar that you needed a brake on the sidecar. Turns out you don't. At first I was maybe a bit nervous about that, stopping power and stuff, No, that was alleviated pretty much early on when I did the conversion. So if you're wondering about a brake on the sidecar, it isn't necessary. Another thing I wondered about was steering dampener. So the steering dampener is put on Urals by default now, and that's basically to stop that take slapping kind of thing that can happen with sidecar units. So I considered that at one point, but you know, the range of movement without one overweighs the occasional time where you'll get some shaking from a tank slap kind of thing. Usually tank slap with the sidecar is at low speeds, I find. So if I'm like on a bumpy road or something, it'll, you know, back and forth, and make it a little bit more interesting. But other than that, it hasn't really done it. So that's a thing I was glad I didn't add to the sidecar. You know, I just kept it as is, and it's got a nice range of movement now, whereas a steering dampener will probably limit your movement, which is what it's supposed to be doing, right? So yeah. So I've mentioned before the fact that there's no reverse on this sidecar. I'm sure that there are ways to, you know, have something like that installed, but I'm not interested. I think that gravity does a lot of the work. If you're smart about things, when you're parking in a, you know, in parking lot or something like that, you get strategic about how you park. You know, look for the places that have a little bit of a slope. If you're parking and if you're coming into the parking, then you know, you can let gravity do the work and roll your way out in reverse. And if not, as I mentioned before, the Flintstone thing is always an option. You might look silly, but hey, you're riding a sidecar, so who cares? So let's talk specifically. Hey, how you doing? So let's talk specifically about whether your motorcycle is right for a sidecar. Now, obviously, there are some motorcycles that are just probably not meant for sidecars, although I'm sure there are some people that have made them. You know, sports bikes, that kind of thing. You do see a lot of dual sport bikes with sidecars. If you watch Heindel Motorcycle Sales in Eaton, Ohio, he is a Euro dealer, and but he's been converting a lot of, I think, if they're KTMs into sidecars. So hey, that's one of those things that you can look at doing. I did talk to Mike at Old Vintage Cranks about the 650 range of motorcycles from Royal Enfield, and I think that those would make probably really great sidecar rigs, especially that classic 650. It's almost like it was made for a sidecar. So it doesn't hurt that it kind of looks like the Triumph Speedmaster from at least my year, which is probably why I think that. But hey, you know, it's everybody's got their flavor, and I think that it would work really well with a classic 650. It would look really cool too. It's not about looks, but it would look pretty cool. But I think it would have the power to pull the sidecar rig. So that's something I'd be curious if you got a Royal Enfield, and if you've kitted it out. I've seen a lot of Royal Enfield classic 350s, classic 500s when they were being manufactured. Check out Sidecar Shenanigans on Instagram. She's got a really beautiful classic 500 that's olive drab, really nice. So you temper your expectations when it comes to riding. So I'm sure that she's got a lot of great expert advice on riding that specific unit. But I think that a lot of motorcycles are sidecar friendly. When you're thinking about Harleys, you see a lot of Harleys with a sidecar rig. A lot of Harleys, I find. They got the power to pull, and I think it's a comfort thing to a lot of riders too, to go with something they know, and possibly something they've been riding for years, kind of like the Speedmaster. So I think that that it's context is king, and it always is. Everything, you know, you can't just kind of throw blanket statements around. But I think that given your mindset when it comes to riding a sidecar, and knowing that things are going to be changing, things are going to be a little bit slower, things are not going to be super aggressive riding and fast. Oh, I stalled her. Given all that, I think if you put it in context, you'll find that a sidecar is probably right for you if you're looking to convert your existing motorcycle. Anyway, I'll keep talking about this over some more videos as we go, but I'm curious what you think. As always, do you have a sidecar rig that is converted? Do you have issues with it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you regret it? That's another one. I always wondered if I was going to regret this, which I don't at all. But regret is a definite thing that you could run across. So let's talk in the comments. Are you thinking of converting a sidecar, your motorcycle, into a sidecar rig? If so, let's chat it out. Let's see what we can do to help each other out, because we are a community here, a very niche community, but we are one nonetheless. So I've been Jamie, and you've been in the sidecar.